Kingdom Hearts is full of amazing secondary damage methods. The magic system is in-depth and unique, summons are interesting with a fun blend of Disney in the mix, and attraction flow... okay, yeah, maybe not attraction flow. But besides all these, there's nothing better than just your basic Keyblade swinging attacks that unleash some of the most devastating anime-looking attacks, from Ars Arcanum to Dark Aura, and even breakdancing on your enemies till you can unleash some of the coolest variety of moves in the Kingdom Hearts series. But the question I want to ask, and therefore attempt to answer today, is what's the best one? If we look at every Kingdom Hearts game and analyze all the unique attacks, what's the best one for each game and how its combat system works? Well, ladies and gents, that's exactly what we're going to be discussing today as we go over the best attack in every Kingdom Hearts game. Sit back and relax, as you might just be surprised at some of the attacks you've probably never even heard of. If you're new here, welcome to the channel. We do a lot of gaming content with a lot of it focusing on Kingdom Hearts, from gameplay and lore analysis to intense combat challenges not for the faint of heart. The content never ends, so for me guys, please like the video, subscribe, and click the bell to be sure not to miss out on any future content that I post on this channel. While you're at it, be sure to use the links in the description to follow me on all other social medias like Twitch and Twitter, all of which house similar content that I post on this channel. The support really helps in the long run, so I would greatly appreciate it. That being said, let's get into what you really came here for. So, let's start off with a few caveats to explain the criteria and how I'm judging these. For starters, you are looking for special signature attacks strictly from the playable characters of whatever said game we're discussing. So that means things like team attacks are out of the question. There's enough variety of those for its own separate video, and if you'd like to see that, please comment down below, or any other best of ideas you'd like to see. I would also like to state, and this is the most important information bit, so pay close attention, damage is not everything. Of course, damage is the main bit of criteria for an attack, but if one attack gives a lot of other benefits like status effects, heals, or invincibility frames, but it's a little shy on the damage compared to another attack, I would still consider the first the clear winner. It's all about utility and overall benefits to the player. I will also only be looking at the attack itself, so any combos of abilities or effects with an attack will not be accounted for, only what the attack can do on its own. For instance, combining the Jafar enemy card in Recom with an attack of your slate so it doesn't get broken is a combo and will not be accounted for in the attack's advantages. Lastly, this is a sorts of ranking video, and with that there's always discourse and disagreement across the fanbase. My choice isn't the right choice, it's just my choice, and if you have any differences, I would love to hear about what you have to say. Please let me know what you think in the comment section down below. So let's handle this like we always do, in release order. Bringing our first game to light, Kingdom Hearts 1 Final Mix. Now, the numbered Kingdom Hearts games get a little tricky as they don't have command decks or slides with clear attacks. However, they do have at least some special unique attacks that fit the criteria, with Kingdom Hearts 1 having 4 specifically. Sonic Blade, a multi-dash attack where Sora thrusts the Keyblade. Strike Raid, where Sora hurls the Keyblade and calls it back over and over. Ars Arcanum, a powerful speed combo of Keyblade flurries. And Ragnarok, a magical missile attack that Sora shoots from the Keyblade. Now with these, I think it's safe to eliminate Ragnarok and Sonic Blade. Ragnarok is just a bit costly for its minuscule damage output. It costs 4 AP to equip and 3 MP to use, but doesn't have anything to back up that costly requirement. Not to mention it requires an enemy to be at a slightly higher elevation than Sora, which can be a lot trickier to trigger than at face value. As well as while Sora is invincible for the beginning of the attack flurry, the main juice of the attack Sora isn't invincible for, which can cause for easy interruptions wasting the MP. Sonic Blade, however, is actually pretty decent. It costs 3 AP and 2 MP, so off the bat, a lot better usage. It also is not bad for crowd control, zooming around the arena, and even keeping a distance from a boss. However, compared to the other two, I just think it falls a bit short on every aspect. Not to mention Sora is only invincible for the first thrust, so like Ragnarok, it can be interrupted, but it's not as bad since the thrusts allow you to keep it a bit of distance. Slight editor's note here, I read on the wiki that Sonic Blade can be interrupted, but in gameplay I could not actually get it interrupted, so I may have been wrong about that part. Strike Raid and Ars are worth more discussion, however, and honestly, even as I write this script, I'm going back and forth between the two, so if you disagree, I couldn't honestly blame you. Ars will do an amazing flurry of attacks that can melt the health off a boss, but it definitely falls short in the crowd control as it really is meant for a single target. Strike Raid being the opposite, where it won't do as much damage to a boss, but you can switch across the battlefield, keeping more enemies at bay. It's also worth noting that Ars costs 4 AP and 3 MP, and Strike Raid costs 3 AP and 2 MP. So Strike Raid technically takes that advantage, even though Ars is totally worth the cost. However, one feature is going to make the choice for me. While ours is amazing for damage, you're only invincible for half of the combo, completely interruptible for the second half. Strike rate, however, is the only limit in KH1 where you are invincible the entire duration of the attack, and honestly I think this speaks volumes, as throughout the community it is considered cheesy to spam strike rate on bosses with the low MP cost and high reward. But what's usually cheesy is so for a reason, and I honestly think it's worthy of taking the spot as the best attack in Kingdom Hearts 1. Side note, if you're the one mentioning Trinity Limit, we'll save that for the best team attacks video. Okay, I learned my lesson from the best Magic video. OG Com and Recom function very different and are worth of separate entries. Just for those who wanted it for that video though, the raid attacks are the best Magic attacks in OG Chain of Memories. There, that's cleared up. But let's get back to the point. The attack slates for Chain of Memories pale in comparison to the Magic slates, as half of them are just the combo finisher modifiers from Kingdom Hearts 1. So with what we have left, I think Strike Rate and Sonic Blade are the main two boys we need to discuss. Honestly, to make it real easy, however, I'm gonna have to give it to Sonic Blade. As I was stating, the raid attacks are very powerful in OG Com due to the camera layout, allowing the Keyblades to hit enemies multiple times as it flings out and returns. But Sonic Blade also zooms across the field, hitting multiple enemies, but this one can attack even more times than Strike Raid. They both pretty much balance out when it comes to crowd control, which just leaves how they handle bosses. And while Strike Raid isn't horrible for boss fights, especially the final Marluxia, I think that Sonic Blade is more useful for a majority of the fights in the game, as it almost stun locks the enemy so that they can't break your slide so easily. So with that, Sonic Blade is gonna take the stand. Once again, it's so close though, I can't blame anyone for taking either side. Now, Reclam did release after Kingdom Hearts 2, but since we're coming off of the OG with a lot of similar thoughts, let's just keep that ball rolling. The main difference from OG Com and the remake for this topic is really that camera system. It really changes up the combat, as the raid attacks aren't nearly as useful in the remake. Once again though, most of the attack slates are still just combo modifiers, so it's back to the main four from Kingdom Hearts 1 again. This time, however, Sonic Blade is going to take the spot again, 2 entries in a row. Similar to what I said about Strike Rate in Kingdom Hearts 1, it's common spamming Sonic Blade in Recom is very cheesy, and it does significant damage to bosses and retains that crowd control. Strike Rate just really fell off, being only one throw here and not nearly as useful with the camera system. Ragnarok is actually a lot better this time around, but the long charge up makes it almost impossible not to get broken by a boss. And ours is once again very good, but only costing 6 at a max on the slight number like Ragnarok makes it too easy to break for the damage to be worth it. I will say Sonic Blade is significantly more useful in the remake, as on a recent playthrough of OG Com, it can't carry you nearly as far as it can in the remake, but the attack improved so much from original to remake that I think it only makes sense to be the clear choice here. And just to touch on it, Dark Aura is the best attack for Riku in Reverse Rebirth in both versions of the game. If you don't agree, that's perfectly fine. Everyone is entitled to their opinions, even the wrong ones. So Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix, the game that shifted the combat of the series in an amazing direction that it's in today. Once again, number titles are a bit harder to narrow the choice, but let's take a look at what we have to work with here. Kingdom Hearts 2 definitely is the hardest to work with. We have things like dry forms, team attacks like Duck Flare and Dance Call, and reaction commands with a wide variety. However, all of those feel like they'd be better for their own video, so it doesn't leave us much left to work with. We could go over the limits from Limit Form, but honestly 3 entries later, I'd rather change it up from the Strike, Sonic R's, and Ragnarok crew. So let's take a look at the mini combo attacks that KH2 added to spice up the gameplay. There's actually a good variety with things such as Aerial Finish, Magnet Spiral, and Finishing Leap to name a few. We also have a really powerful attacks like Guard Break, a finisher that does great damage piercing through enemies, as well as Horizontal Slash, which with enough air combo pluses can juggle enemies for massive damage. However, I think there's one attack we all remember after finishing KH2 standing out from the rest, the best thing known to Keyblade Warriors since the dawn of time: Dodge Slash. I'm kidding. What I'm really referring to, of course, is Explosion. The finisher attack to this day is still probably my favorite in the series. It sees Sora slamming the Keyblade down, spawning 3 orbs of light for an insane damage output to not only the boss, but enemy in the vicinity around Sora. The one thing that does set Explosion back a small bit is it does skyrocket revenge value, but I do think the damage output and utility absolutely makes up for it. And look, if you don't agree with it being the best attack, you can't argue that it stands as one of the coolest attacks in the series. So coming up next is the thrilling 358 over 2 days. Now, there's really only one thing worth discussing as an attack in this video's topic, being the limit break that Roxas can access when his health reaches the orange bar. This can also be upgraded at a point in the game, adding a second half of the attack. For the base game, Roxas is the only playable character, so he's obviously the clear and only choice. However, I'd like to discuss Mission Mode, where you can play as a multitude of other characters, all with their own limit break. There's honestly so many good ones to choose from here. Sayax with his Berserk, Larxene with her Voltic Rush, and Zaldin with his Dragoon Storm as well, just to name a few. Ironically, Roxas' dual wield form has Magic Hour, which being loosely based off of his DM from Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix, it sucks. Like, what the hell is this? You're not hitting anything. But the one I think deserves the spot is actually going to be Axel with his Flame Explosion. Fire in itself is an extremely useful element in Days to begin with. Along with that, Axel is throwing his chakrams, allowing for him to do devastating damage from a good bit away, which comes in more handy than you think, as even though you have super armor through Limit Break in Days, you're not invulnerable to health loss. Last thing noteworthy is just simple crowd control. The explosion, and even more so on the second half of the attack, will cover a wide range where it hits. This makes Axel's Limit Break not only useful for a boss with the great damage it already has, but also has him to handle multiple enemies at once, something that Mission Mode in Days has a lot of with collecting hearts and such. There's quite literally so many here worth noting though, like I didn't even touch on Mickey's Holy or Vexen's Diamond Dust, which are also so good. Much like I always say with Days, the game was designed to change playstyles as you go to fit whatever mission you're dealing with. That's always going to incite a multitude of options, so please let me know whose limit break you like the best. Now, Birth by Sleep was the first in the series to introduce the command deck system that would go to dominate the side game from here on forward. It saw you having specific command attacks in a deck that could be used infinitely in fights with the exception of a reload time on each command. But with Birth by Sleep, you had 3 playable characters who all have different playstyles, and for that reason, I saw an opportunity to make things more interesting. Instead of finding one attack that fits the best for all of them, I'm going to pick one attack for each of them. We have to take advantage of the opportunities in life, just like you should take the advantage of the opportunity to support the channel completely free by liking the video and subscribing to the channel. It really helps YouTube know that my videos are worth caring about and pushing it in the algorithm. All seriousness, any support is really appreciated more than you know, so thank you, it means the world to me. Okay, before we get into any character, I want to address the elephant in the room. Yes, the Surge abilities are the best attacks in Birth by Sleep. The invincibility frames mixed with closing range distance and decent damage has always outclassed these commands from the rest. For the sake of having a unique and not boring opinion, I will not be addressing these commands, and we'll be trying to look at commands unique to each specific character. So Birth by Sleep is when attacks get very interesting, especially when we get to Terra. For now though, Ven has 2 commands that I want to focus on. The returning Ars Arcanum, which actually does function a little differently in this game, as well as Salvation, a giant light-based AoE attack. Ars Arcanum is very similar to every other iteration of the move in past games, where you start with a flurry followed by a combo prompts to keep the combo going. The only thing different this time is the combo hits are slightly changed to fit Ventus' attack style, as well as it does significantly more damage than in previous games. Salvation is a brand new attack introduced in Birth by Sleep that sees Ventus charging up before releasing multiple pillars of light in a giant AoE attack. The attack will do multiple hits to all surrounding enemies while at the same time restoring Ventus' HP. The amount of HP depends on the level of the command, healing 90% at max level. Now, the choice here is actually very close, though I believe one has a slight advantage. Ars Arcanum absolutely deals way more damage than Salvation, especially with a high strength stat. However, as usual with these attacks, Ventus isn't invulnerable to damage while using this move. This means for attacks from other enemies Ven isn't targeting, or even when a boss breaks out to launch an attack, you're practically going to lose all of your health left at 1 HP, and while it won't kill you, you'll be left wide open at the end of the attack for a finishing blow. Salvation, however, while it also does not leave Ventus invulnerable, especially during the charge up portion, will heal Ventus to make up for this downside. It also does not shy on damage at all, as well as I believe is absolutely better for crowd control. It's all slight, but I think clear advantage for Salvation. Aqua, however, is the harder one to decide. Being a magic-based fighter, she has way more unique magic commands and minuscule attack commands unique to her. The only attacks that I feel are really worth mentioning are Magic Hour and Barrier Surge. I did want to use Time Splicer for her as that move is sick, but unfortunately Ven can also use this, so it's not unique to her. There's nothing really outstanding about these attacks. Magic Hour sees Aqua slamming down in an attack of, well, magic, I guess. There's not really an element tied to it except maybe light, but it also kind of looks different from light. I don't know, I'm not an expert, just a guy claiming to be. She will attack 8 times maximum, but that's it. There's no multiple pillar eruptions at the end similar to Helm Split from Dark Riku, and as usual, she's still vulnerable to damage and can even be knocked out of the attack. And Barrier Surge is, well, a surge. with a barrier. It apparently protects you from all incoming attacks during the animation, however literally every surge also has this ability, so I don't know why this one insinuates the barrier part as if that makes it any different. I am however gonna give the pick to Barrier Surge. I mean, it is a surge in Birth by Sleep, which is already a huge advantage, but Magic Hour is just meh. I don't feel like it has anything worth defending itself about. Now, Terra is where the real meat is.
What did he say?
Being the exact opposite of Aqua, Terra has so many good attacks that I honestly don't know which one to truly pick. I mean, he has Ars Solum, his own version of Ars Arcanum, Geo Impact, and Earth Attack where he slams the ground causing rocks to rise in a line in front of him damaging enemies, Meteor Crash where he literally slams from the heavens with a big crash that also summons small meteors to hit the ground after him, and probably the coolest attack to my 10-year-old self playing this game, Chaos Blade, a dark version of Sonic Blade that also teleports around the battlefield for even more hits than Sonic Blade. Oh, and let's not forget that it has a chance to bind or blind enemies that it hits, though that is irrelevant with bosses. Obviously, this is a hard choice. I can't blame anyone for having a different opinion here, as tomorrow I honestly might too. For now, I'm going to safely eliminate Geo Impact. I love the earth-based abilities with Terra, and the move is great, but it doesn't compare to the others with damage. I'm also going to eliminate Ars Solum. I really hate to beat a dead horse saying this, but once again, he's not invulnerable, so even with great damage, it's such a long move that some attacks will just melt you to 1 HP, leaving you wide open for a game over when the move is complete. Now, Meteor Crash or Chaos Blade. It's like asking me to pick between pumpkin pie or a pumpkin roll on Thanksgiving. I mean, I love them both so much, so I don't want to pick either, but I think I have to, so, screw it. Okay, 10-year-old me wins, the cool dark attack wins. In all seriousness though, Chaos Blade really deserves a spot. It does really good damage and can be great crowd control. While both are the same for Meteor Crash, I'm gonna give the slight, and I really do mean slight, advantage to Chaos Blade for that added blinding and binding status effect as well as overall coolness factor, of course. Recoded is an interesting one, because of a lot of KH players now with the movie on the collections have probably never even played it. If you haven't played Recoded, it's honestly such a fun DS game. While the story is lackluster, the gameplay is undoubtedly the best of the handheld Kingdom Hearts games. For instance, you have simple, really strong attacks like Muscle Strike, which sees Sora using the Heartless for a home run in the World Series. Then there's great crowd control attacks like Gravity Drop, which has Sora gather up enemies in a gravity orb before spiking them all to the ground in a devastating blow, melting Heartless health like butter. There's really honestly so many great attacks in Recoded, which again just goes to show how much this gameplay has to offer. I mean, honestly, screw it. Let's just speedrun some of the attacks in Recoded just to show you how much there really is. Shockfall and Quake, two slam down attacks that do great damage in an AoE. Aerial Slam and all its elemental variants that see Sora overhead backhanding Heartless like they just ran their mouth to their mother. Chain Rave, where Sora literally twirls the Keyblade by its chain into the Heartless. All the Spiral and Storm abilities and its elemental variants. And let's not forget Eruption, very similar to Shockfall and Quake. This also closely resembles Last Charge later implemented in Kingdom Hearts 3. But that leaves us with my pick for the best attack in Recoded, Judgment Triad. Sora jumps back in the air, hurling 3 Strike Raid strikes at the enemy in front of him, practically carving out any Heartless in the way. It's extremely strong against bosses and absolutely handles its own in crowd control. I could completely agree that other moves might be better in some aspects, but this is just such a well-rounded ability that can be used in any situation. I think any player could benefit no matter what point in the game that they're playing. As you saw though, there's so many attacks in Recoded. If you have a different pick, I can't blame you, but that just goes to show more why this gameplay is so underrated and why more people should play it. Lastly, before moving on, I just want to note I found while researching for this video that the game's description for Muscle Strike is to knock enemies into next week, which, honestly, gotta give props to whoever on the dev team came up with that one. So, Dream Drop Distance, another game with multiple playable characters, so just like with Birth by Sleep, we're going to go with the same criteria and look at whatever move is best for each character. There's honestly so many cool attacks in Dream Drop as well, like Icebreaker and Shadowbreaker for instance, which has Sora or Riku hitting enemies in a spiral of ice or darkness and hitting them again with the element's respective opposite. Or the Windmill attacks and its respective elemental variants that are very similar to Chain Rave attack from Recoded. But like with Birth by Sleep, I want to take a look at what's specific for each character. Riku, for instance, is extremely similar to Terra, where he has so many moves to choose from it's honestly impossible to narrow it down definitively. There's Dark Aura, which is the same as its Recon counterpart. There's Dark Splicer, which is similar to Time Splicer from Birth by Sleep, but with that darkness effect implemented. He also has Dark Break, which resembles the Helm Split attack from Recon, as well as Sacrifice that has Riku sacrificing HP for a single devastating attack. All of the attacks do amazing damage with great crowd control as well even, but there's one returning attack that gets the spotlight this time around. Meteor Crash, the same as it was in Birth by Sleep, returns to Dream Drop Distance, and honestly I feel it's actually even better in this game. Meteor Crash was always great crowd control, but with the Dream Drop Distance specifically, there are so many large bosses with a wide hitbox that it can become super useful as every meteor has a better chance of hitting that boss and doing the most damage the move can. The charge up time is a bit long, but having a move that can do so much damage in a single strike is actually super useful in Dream Drop. If you look at the bosses in this game like Hoko Monkey, Holy Moly, Comantus, and even the super boss Julius, they zoom around the arena a lot, making it hard to track them down for long combos. So because of that, it's crucial that moves like Meteor Crash exist so that we can get that one good strike in while we can, else these fights would last forever. Sora on the flip side isn't going to be more interesting. His moveset is very similar to that of Ventus and Aqua in that he has a lot of the same commands as Ventus and mainly magic commands at his disposal like Aqua. So because of that, the same two commands, Ars Arcanum and Salvation from Ventus, return as the two big attack commands Sora has. I've honestly already said the same thing about both in Birth by Sleep that I would say for this game, so to make this short, Salvation is going to be Sora's best move. The high damage against bosses and AoE enemies mixed with the fact that it can heal Sora like a free Curaga is enough to make this one of the best attacks in the series. By the way, just because I know there's going to be some comments, Balloonra is a magic command. I went well over that in the best magic video, but this is just a reminder that this video is for physical attacks only, not magic attacks. If I had to pick my favorite attack that follows for both Sora and Riku though, I would definitely go with the Shadow and Icebreaker attacks that I mentioned earlier. They do very good damage in a multitude of situations. I would also like to shout out the dive attacks like Spark and Poison and Drain Dive. Those are also very good in Dream Drop Distance. 0.2 Birth by Sleep. Okay, honestly, what do I say about this game? All the commands I could consider an attack are more of a magical thing because Aqua is the main character. I mean, the Shot Lock is really strong, but do we consider that an attack? Or how about the Spellweaver finisher? I mean, that's more of a form change thing, but it kind of functions like a limit with the triangle prompt and all. Then there's the Wayfinder attack with Mickey, but that's also more of a team attack, so again, just not the right criteria here. Screw it, I'm just going to say the Shot Lock. I honestly want to give Shot Lock a shout out anyway because it's so overpowered in every game it features, but not enough games make its own videos, so yeah, f*** it. Shot Lock is the best attack in 0.2. Sue me, I'm just a nerd on his computer. But that brings us to our last game in the series, Kingdom Hearts 3. Yes, Union Cross and Dark Road exist, but I'm not insane enough to go through every medal in those games. That's a whole rabbit hole in itself. And there's Melody of Memory, but I mean, come on, it's a rhythm game. I think that speaks for itself. So Kingdom Hearts 3, the most divisive game in the series. There's so many forms of damage here. There's all the Keyblade transformations, Shot Lock return in such a unique variety, there's Disney ride attractions and combo finishers like Last Charge and Magic Flash. Okay, yeah, definitely not Magic Flash. That shit is garbage. It's another case of number titles being kind of hard to decide with how differently they function from all the side games. So to handle this, I just looked at everything that does damage that can't be considered magic and found something I feel like everyone completely forgets about. Counter Shield and Frying Pan form changes have a specific attack called Wrathful Flurry and Flame Barrage that is unique to them, where you block an attack that it stores inside the shield. You can unleash this attack as one huge blow to the enemy, or you can store one more hit for an attack that does a huge flurry of hits, absolutely melting the enemy's health. There's also the added factor that if you're playing on critical mode and have the critical counter ability, that you can perfect block with the shield out on the second stored hit and multiply the damage even better. I mean, just take a look at how much damage you can get with this counter attack. Normally counters don't do nearly as much damage as this, but serve more of a way to defensively get back into the fight. Kingdom Hearts 3, however, improved counters so much in a way that I really hope continues in the future of the series. So with that, Wrathful Flurry and Flame Barrage take the spot as the best attack in Kingdom Hearts 3. But what do you guys think? What would be your best choices for the attacks across the Kingdom Hearts series? Please let me know in the comments, and once again, don't forget to like and subscribe as that really does help me out and makes me very happy. Last minute attack shout out to the Flying Kick-A-Pow from Hayner against Ansem Seeker of Darkness. Mans may not have damage, but that motherfucker got heart.